Would you rather never have sex again and win the 2-1-2 Mr. Olympia once? Or never win Mr. Olympia and still have sex? Welcome to, I don't even know what episode this is of Broadcast, and finally getting back into it after the comp prep. I've got with me Carter Hedges. He won his class in the, what is it, under 80? Over 80?
Under 85s at the IFBB State Championships, just, what was that, 5 weeks ago now, so. Yeah.
How's life been after that?
Yeah, good. Just, you know, most people try to jump straight into bulking straight after, which is stupid. Just pretty much focusing on health. That's the thing you got to do. So, just been relaxing, honestly, kind of still training hard up until the past week. Now I'm starting to have a bit of time off training. Just, I think you got to keep training straight after, otherwise you're just going to blow out like crazy. So, relaxed with the food for a while, then went on a bit of a holiday to watch the national show over in Brizzy, and then went to Melbourne. So, yeah, it's been good. Just been living, you know, still training like a bodybuilder, but outside of that and eating like a bodybuilder like 80% of the time, it's been chilling out and just living like a normal person for a bit.
Yeah.
So
Definitely helps you feel better.
100%. 100%. After being regimented for so long, because like I think a lot of people don't realize it's not just prep that, you know, the serious people are regimented in. Like for me, it was, I started working with Taylor in January, and essentially from January up until the comp in beginning of October, I was on plan. So there was, you know, I only had off-plan meals. I only ate things that weren't in my plan when he told me to, even the whole way through off-season. So everything was structured. Training obviously being super structured, cardio coming in the prep, everything. So then once it came to this time, I said to him straight away that I'm going to have bare minimum a month to just focus on, you know, health in general, but mental health specifically. Like we're still going to focus on health for another few months, but mental health right away after comp is so important to just kind of chill out for a little bit and accept the fact that you're going to put some fat on. And you know, I don't have any problems with that. I'm not one of those people that gets post comp blues by, you know, losing the shreds. But yeah, you've just got to get back to having a bit of a normal life for a bit and set goals outside of bodybuilding, because otherwise then you fall into that hole of, well, now I don't have that immediate goal of being on stage in a short period of time, because your next comp's probably bare minimum 1 year away.
So this energy drink's not going to hurt your physique.
I don't give a shit right now.
Exactly.
No, I don't care. But I mean, look, 52 grams of carbs for something that, I'm sorry, man, it tastes fairly average, this one. Yeah, that's rough. But,
Oh well, it is what it is.
That's all we've got here.
Because I think not a lot of people understand that while these bodybuilders are looking shredded and so good on the stage, they're also feeling the shittiest they've ever felt.
Yeah, I'd say the good thing is by show day, you're not the worst. The worst is probably like 4 days out before the carbs come in. But you're still not feeling good. You're still in a pretty poor place comparatively. So for me, it was comp day was Saturday, so I think it was Tuesday. Like Monday felt great. We started loading fats. We cut carbs down to trace carbs. Felt amazing. Food tasted incredible because it all had high fats, but I still had some carbs in my system. That's why it felt great. Tuesday, we went even higher with the fat, so you'd think I'd be feeling even better, but all the carbs basically were out of my system. So I felt horrible. It was the worst I'd felt the entire prep, even though the next day we were having carbs coming in. And then the day after that was going to be really high carb, like carbing up on, I think, 630 grams of carbs or something. It was just like, I don't care. That's not now. That's tomorrow. So like right now I feel horrible. So at that point it was the worst. By stage, you know, by the time you're on stage, you're so focused. You could be feeling horrible. You don't care. You know what it's like, obviously. You're so focused in on the prize. Like I was backstage just, you know, zeroed in the entire time. Some people were trying to chat, and I'm just like, I just didn't care. I didn't really want to, which sounds a bit rude, but you know, you're just so focused at that point until you get off the stage the first time. Taylor was kind of the same. The coach, he was back there with me, and it was just like the entire time I'm just standing there doing nothing, and his eyes are just assessing my physique at all times, working things out. He's on his phone trying to work out like exactly what we need to do to just we just needed to maintain, because I was right there at the beginning of the day. I was full and I was dry, so we had to maintain that rather than try and do a stupid last minute carb up. It was just maintain where we were at and hold it for as long as I needed to, which obviously, let's be real, it's not that long. You're on stage for 10 minutes, but
20 weeks of prep, 10 minutes of stage time, and we love it.
And then it's gone within a few weeks because you're just like, all that food looks good.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
All good.
We've got some questions from the people. You've sent me the questions, and I've got some own questions that I've written down here. Well, we'll start with the first basic question. Who is Carter Hedges? What got you into lifting? Who are you?
Yeah, easy. So I've been training for about 9 years at this stage. It all started, 24 now, so it started when I was about 15. I was a competitive gymnast before that. So I was in the South Australian elite squad, and that had me training 30 hours a week. So before and after school, every single day I was at gym more than I was at school. And I am ridiculously injury prone. So that unfortunately hasn't stopped since getting out of gymnastics. But basically I would always injure myself there, and essentially I had an injury in my wrist that ended the gymnastics career purely because broke it, had no idea that it was broken, trained on it for 2 years. Needed an operation, came back from the operation, day one, injured a hip flexor. After being off for like 3 months, come back, injury straight away. Yeah, maybe the sport's not for me. So I stopped that, but I'd realised I was loving the strength training side of things. Because obviously as a gymnast, you do so much strength focused training. So I thought, all right, I'm going to join a gym. So I joined Jets, which barely even exists anymore. Obviously it's become, Zap or Snap, one of them.
Something like that,
I don't know, they're all terrible. But joined that because it was one of the only gyms in the area that would allow people under 18 to train. And just fell in love with the training. So I was already exposed to bodybuilding because my dad's always been a bodybuilding fan. He's watched the Olympia in the past, back in like the 80s, the early 80s, I think. So he's been into it for a long time. He's competed in powerlifting, so I was always exposed to it. It also meant that I knew more about the ups and downs than some people do. So a lot of people get into it thinking it's all, sunshine, roses, it's all amazing. It's, bodybuilding sucks in a lot of ways, as you know now that you've been through a prep. So I already knew that, and I still wanted to do it. So that's kind of what got me started. Trained from 15 to 20 without competing. Obviously, you don't want to compete too young, just, it'd be useless. Yeah. But yeah, so started the competitive journey when I was 20, and essentially I've had 2 preps since then that didn't really go to plan. Injuries, mental health, things getting in the way, and then back on stage for the second time this year. So yeah, that's kind of the rough journey so far with it all. So
did you always compete in IFBB, or did you follow the route like you went to ICN and then went to IFBB?
Nah, fuck that. Nah. So always IFBB. Look, I think ICN's a great starting ground for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for me, by the time I knew I was wanting to compete, I already knew, well, I want to be an IFBB pro.
Yeah.
The 212 division exists, which I'm the perfect height for. Turning pro is going to be hard at 5'4", but I want to be a pro in the IFBB, so why go anywhere else first?
Yeah.
And also, if you want to be a pro in the IFBB, certain things are involved. So, kind of, made the decision probably earlier than I should have. Yeah. But at the same time, that's what everyone's, when you're saying that, it's like earlier than I should have health-wise, but the vast majority of pros who end up being successful did probably get on a bit earlier than they should have.
Yeah.
So, I kind of made that decision, competed in IFBB, the SA Championships back in 2018, and then
20 there.
20 at the time, yeah. So I won juniors, came second in novice, won under 80s. I won juniors by default. I was the only person there, so okay. I'm not taking credit for that shit. But
well, you still won, so
yeah. Look, it's not my fault that no one else showed up, but at the same time, it's like it's a bit of a shallow victory.
Yeah.
Came second in novice, won under 80s, and then compared pretty well in the overall. So then didn't do the national show that time, and then I've obviously stayed in IFBB this time as well. So
you competed when you were 20. Well, I'm not going to ask you a question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, right? but when did you decide to take the big leap and go enhanced?
So that was pretty much, it was not long before I started prep for that year. So I'd essentially, for that show, I'd kind of built the bulk of the muscle naturally, and then jumped on probably, I can't quite remember, it would have been about 3 or 4 months out of prep starting, and then obviously enhanced the whole way through prep. So that first show was, the bulk of the muscle was not enhanced, but obviously the first time you get on, even if you're in a deficit, you're probably still going to build some muscle, And it's the same with this prep. I put on considerable tissue in this prep. Like, we had I think an 8 or 9 week period in the prep where I got so much leaner every single week and my body weight didn't drop. And now that I'm coming back out of the prep, you can first see, for the first time, we can see the actual size that's been added, because when you get that lean, I haven't been that lean for 4 years. So I kind of have in the 2 other preps that didn't really go to plan, but it's hard to compare that. Whereas once you get back to sort of a bit more of an off-season look, and you go like, holy shit, right now I'm sitting at about 87, 88 kilos, and compared to the last time I was at this weight, it's night and day difference. So I think the only way you could ever put muscle on in a prep is being enhanced, but seems to happen.
So this brings me on to the question, since you said that you've always been exposed to bodybuilding, right? Your dad was a fan, he competed in powerlifting.
Yeah.
So when you decided to take the big leap and get enhanced, did your dad know?
Yeah, so I told him probably a couple months after I started it. So I was a bit nervous to at first, but when I did tell him, he was, from a father's perspective, he was concerned, but he understood, and he knew that it was going to happen.
Oh yeah, 100%.
He was 100% confident it was going to happen. So he knew pretty early on, and he was nothing but supportive. I didn't actually tell my mum for quite a while. I think I told her after I'd first competed, and she was a bit upset at first. Which, if she listens to this podcast, then that's news to her, because she thought that Dad found out right before she did. But sorry, Mum. But yeah, so I was a bit more nervous to tell her, because she doesn't have that other knowledge side of things. So she was a bit more upset about it at first, and then she kind of apologized and said, I'm just concerned for your well-being. Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the way it should be, I think. If she was just like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, that's not great. So, but yeah, they both know, and it's something that the vast majority of people around me know. I don't go around telling everyone I overmeet, because it's sometimes, obviously, it's just like there's no reason for people to know. But a lot of people do know, because they ask, and they're interested in bodybuilding, and they kind of ask like, are steroids involved still? Is that still an issue with it? And I'll just be like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm on drugs. Because I'm not going to tell some people and not tell other people, because then it conflicts things. And it's better to kind of remove that stigma and just make sure people understand that, the people like me who are doing it correctly, we're getting our blood work done. We're not pushing ridiculous doses. We're being smart about it. We're not running high doses at all times. We're actually being intelligent and trying to make sure that we don't just ruin our lives. I don't want to die incredibly young. I have accepted the fact that I'm going to shorten my life expectancy.
You're going to take some years away from your life.
Exactly, yeah. But if something suddenly looks terrible in my blood work, done. Bodybuilding's over. Yeah. Because I'd rather live until, 75 and, not have been as successful in bodybuilding than live to 40. However, would I rather live to 90 or 75 and have been very successful in bodybuilding? I'll take the 75 any day of the week, because I'd rather do what I love.
Yeah.
So,
because you spend the majority of the time doing what you love.
Yeah.
And you're successful at it. So
exactly.
100%.
It's all give and take with these things. It's like that with everything in life. I think a lot of people look at bodybuilding because all the drugs are involved and think, it's horrible and more unhealthy than other sports, but no sport's healthy at the top level. Unfortunately, people don't seem to understand that this stuff is kind of involved in every sport
now.
Yeah. It's, every single sport, it depends. It's not, people think it's just about building muscle and strength. No, there are things that you take that can help your concentration, help your reaction time, things like that. that's helpful in basically every sport. So
that's still a performance-enhancing drug.
Yeah, and it's probably still got detrimental effects. So if you're going to take anything to the extreme of trying to be the best in something that you can be, you're going to have some negative impact on some aspect of your life.
Yeah.
And if you can weigh up that cost and benefit, and you think it's worth it to you, do it safely, do it as well as you can, but follow your heart.
Yeah, because I still remember, not a lot of people might know, when I first signed up to Derrimut Gym, you were the one who signed me up. Like, you were on the desk. Yeah. And because I was always asking questions after my session. I was like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you look that way? And you're like, you told me that you gave me the information, and then you're like, well, if you're comparing yourself to me, just know that I'm on drugs. Yeah. And you can't really look like that naturally. And I was like just straight out of it, I was like, respect, because fake natties are all over Instagram.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And now that I've spent 2+ years into lifting, I can kind of tell who's natty, who's not natty, and when they're claiming to be natural. And I was like, okay, I got to respect people when they openly tell that, hey, I'm enhanced. Yeah. Because I don't get the idea behind, I don't want to take any names, but it's going to be like, hey, I'm natural. But you look like bigger than guys who competed at the IFBB show.
Yeah, we all know a few examples of that in the industry. There are people like that in every country. There are people like that around Australia. And it's obvious to people who know. Whereas they're doing it because, obviously, the general public, they don't know. They don't understand. They can't see the differentiating factors. Because you can get big as a natural, but you can't have certain qualities to your physique. So that's why they do it, because they get more mainstream appeal. They can get on mainstream TV programs and things like that, mainstream channels on YouTube, because those companies want to kind of promote someone who doesn't look like they're taking drugs. Yeah. Whereas if you're open about the drug use, well, they don't want you. But yeah, it's something that I think a correct kind of, what's the word, like, standards or like, people should know what they're getting into and know what is possible with how they approach it. So if you're going to train like crap and eat like crap, you're going to look like crap. Yeah. So people need to know that if you're going to do those amazingly well, that's great. But you're still not going to look as good as someone who's eating perfectly, training perfectly, recovering perfectly, and then somebody else who's also doing all of that but enhanced. Yeah. There's different degrees to everything, and you've just got to weigh up the positive and negative. If you think, well, I'm going to eat well and train well, but I want to still go out and drink on the weekends, that's fine. But you're leaving something on the table, so you're not going to progress as well. So yeah, look, back when I signed you up at the gym, so obviously, yeah, we're talking a couple of years ago now, because I don't work there anymore. But back then, it was something that I could tell that you were genuinely interested in wanting to learn. Yeah. Your mates were pretending to listen. They didn't care. I don't know if they listen to this.
Sorry,
I don't care.
If you're watching this.
I don't give a shit if you are watching this. You guys didn't take any of it on board, but you were, and then suddenly you were training without them. Yeah. And I'm sure that doesn't mean that you parted ways and weren't friends anymore. But you have different approaches and different goals. Yeah. They were clearly into it just for a bit more fitness and health and that
social purposes. Yeah.
And that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever gets you into the gym or whatever gets you to be healthy, that's perfect. Yeah. But you had a different goal, and you've got to surround yourself with people who have that same goal. So
that's why I don't train with anyone, because I don't have those kind of people around me.
It gets tough at times. Like I've always been the same. I've almost always trained on my own, but there's nothing like being surrounded by people who can push you. So I've trained on my own, even when I was training at Derrimut in Port Adelaide. But Liam, one of my best mates, works there. So whenever I'm training, he's there working. So if I needed a spot, there he is. I'll just go out and he'll just immediately see me and go, yeah, all right, and just come out and spot.
You'll need someone like Liam to spot you. no guy like me is fucking lifting 60 kilos on each arm when you're incline pressing. Fuck that.
Yeah, well, look, man, like, I get so many people coming up to me being like, oh, do you need a spot? And I'm just like, yeah, but I'm not trusting you. Like, I'm not trusting anyone else. If I've got access to Liam or certain people, I'll take my dad over most people, because I know that they understand how I want to get spotted. Yeah. I'm someone who, I'm particular with how you need to spot me. Yeah. And if you ruin that and you ruin a set for me, I'm going to be fucking pissed. Yeah, exactly. And it's happened a few times. So, yeah, you got to surround yourself with these people that are going to support you and push you in the right way, which I think I've had that more so this year than I ever have in my life. And you're probably getting the same now that you're on Taylor's team as well. It's just, it kind of has exposed me and probably you as well to so many people that are like-minded and are great people as well. Yeah. So,
shout out to Team Crabtree.
Yeah, Team Crabs. It's a good team.
It's growing. It's growing.
Yeah.
And I think Taylor's going to have a couple IFBB pros in the coming years.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think he's
one of them is going to be me. I'm saying it right now.
No, look, I think he's one of the upcoming coaches that he's going to be one of the top coaches in a few years, I think. And I'm not just saying that because I'm one of his athletes. Like, I'm one of his athletes because if it's deserved, like, I'm paying him. I'm not going to waste my money. So in my mind, he's a damn good coach and he's worth.
Yeah, not going to take any names, but yeah, one of my mates, she went to one of the bikini coaches, well known, and the day of the check-in, didn't get any response. Went on to the next check-in, sent in the photos, waiting for the check-in from the last week.
An entire week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, if you're paying like anything close to $100 a week, and that is what the services you're getting, probably time to change coaches.
100%.
Yeah. And now she's changed coaches. She's with Ben. Well,
yeah. So I know who you're talking about. Then I know the client you're talking about. I know the other people you're talking about. But yeah, I think first of all, Ben's one of the coaches. Like, I would recommend him over anyone when it comes to being a natural athlete. I think he's amazing. He knows my opinion on him. He knows that I think he's incredible. I've got another friend who, like, I know from work, who she's worked with him this prep as well. And anyone who's ever worked with him only has positive words to say.
I've never worked with him. I have positive words to say.
100%. I've never worked with him. I've never met him in person, and I've only had positive interactions with him online. I think he's a great guy. But yeah, I think there are too many coaches like that who I've had experiences like that in the past where it would just go. I think the longest I had was about 5 days with no response, but that was 5 days about 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
And at 6 weeks out, you're needing responses a bit more frequently. Or just if I ask a question, I don't care if it takes best part of a day. But you know what it's like with Taylor. You ask him a question, you get a response in half an hour.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like the responses. There were times that I would ask him, so with the prep, why are we doing a fat load before loading the carbs?
Yeah.
And then when he sent voice messages for his response, I was writing down what he was saying. So notepad that size, I had about 1.5 pages of information.
Yeah.
Because I asked him a simple one-sentence question, why are we doing a fat load?
And
he gave me a giant paragraph of information. And that's, a good coach should have a reason for doing everything. They should be able to communicate that openly. Yeah. They should never say, oh no, you wouldn't understand. Don't bother asking, you won't understand. If they don't have a reason behind something, get rid of them because they're just doing things because they've seen other coaches do it.
Yeah.
You might not agree with their reasoning sometimes. There were some times where he and I had disagreements on how things were happening, but that was more so because obviously in prep you can't trust your own brain and you start second guessing everything. But still, like, you might not agree with everything they say, but if they can come up with a legitimate reason behind it, it's like, all right, well, we might disagree in this way, so I will either, I'll probably give it a shot and see what I think and then give him the feedback, or just, you come to a compromise, but at least they can explain it. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to go away from the PD and bodybuilding, serious bodybuilding topics from here, but I still have one last question because I remember one of the followers did ask me this to ask from you.
Yeah.
So if there's someone young thinking of doing it, have their mindset that at some point they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Like they're going to get on PDs.
Yeah.
What is that one small, brief message that you're going to give them?
Look, for me, it's not going to be brief. I'll be honest. I will, if someone's coming to me with that, if I've got the time for it, I will sit down with them properly and actually tell them, give them a lot of information and say, look, all right, here are the negatives for bodybuilding. Here are the negatives for the drug side of things. After giving them all of that, if they want to continue, then you give them more information. So the main thing you've always got to understand is you're never changing someone's mind. If they want to do it, it's not worth saying, no, you shouldn't do it, that's stupid, you're too young, because you're not going to change their mind. You can give your opinion and say, look, if I were you, I think you should wait a bit longer, you should build up more of a solid base naturally. And I will always say that to people, no one's ever reached their natural potential before they get on. I didn't. I wish I did. I wish I went a bit longer, but at the same time,
you're sacrificing time if you really want to get to a certain level. Because I watch, Greg Sett, right?
Yeah.
He's always like, train till your 30s, maximize your genetic potential, and then jump on PEDs. But at the same time, when you jump on PEDs at that late, you're kind of not going to be successful because there's so many young guys coming up.
Your prime when you're an enhanced athlete is in your mid-30s.
Yeah.
So if you're jumping on at 30, you have to build a solid amount of muscle with it. It's probably going to take at least 5 years. And then you need to refine from there, and you need to actually learn how to get into condition at that size, and you need to learn how to pose when you're that size, and all of this stuff. And suddenly, by the time you've got all of that down packed, you're probably 40 years old. Yeah. You're turning pro, and you're already on the tail end of your career. Yeah. So, and you've been training hard like an animal for 20, 30 years.
20 years, yeah.
So it's just something that, whenever anyone makes that decision, they're making it at the time that is either right for them or that's just the time they're going to do it. So I will tell them about these are the negatives in terms of health. I'll tell them the minor things, which are things like, you're going to lose your hair. I've gone bald voluntarily, but it's because my hair's been thinning.
Yeah.
And I just think I look better bald. You're going to lose the hair on the top and grow hair like crazy everywhere else. All right. I also used to be hairless everywhere else. I used to not be able to grow facial hair. I used to not have any body hair. If anyone knows me personally now, I just can't be bothered dealing with it. There's a lot. So little things like that, those are the minor things. Yeah. Acne, everyone's scared of the acne. That is one of the most minor things that just doesn't seem to matter compared to most other things. But then you've actually got to give them the serious things that could happen. You could damage your organs, especially if you're using more so oral drugs and stuff. You're going to be damaging your liver, and you don't want to do that. That'll kill you. So you got to make sure people understand all of these things and understand that comp prep is probably 90% negatives and 10% positives. You feel great for some of it, you feel average for some of it, you feel horrible for a lot of it. Yeah. And if they want to go through that, and if they want to not drink any alcohol for months on end, not eat anything off plan, you'll get, your free meals, your off plan meals every now and then, but it's very structured. And the amount of times I ate my off plan meals on my own, I didn't get to go out and have it with friends because no one was free at the exact time I had to have it. So all of these things are all negatives. And if you tell someone all of these things and they still say, yeah, I get that, I understand that, I already knew that stuff, I still want to do it, all right, then I'll actually kind of talk to them about it a bit more openly, because then it's clear that they actually understand at that stage. But yeah, it's never going to be a short thing for me. It's always going to be, right, we've actually got to have a proper discussion and make sure that you're aware that it's a big decision. It's
a life-changing decision.
It's a very life-changing decision, and it does have its positives, but I'm going to downplay the positives and play up the negatives at first. Because if you're a horrible responder to these things, you might have very small positives and very big negatives. So I'm going to kind of play up the worst case scenario, and then you'll realize, all right, maybe that's not for me. Or you'll realize, well, yeah, I get that, but that's still what I want to do.
Yeah, and I'm just going to put it out right now. Maybe you agree with me. If you're doing bodybuilding for the money,
get out.
No,
it's not worth it. You can make money in the fitness industry, but not from being competitive bodybuilder. Yeah. No, it's just not possible. Like you can get, if you're one of the best in the world, you can get some good sponsorships, but you're gonna be one of the best in the world. And I'm sorry, the vast majority of people out there, the vast majority of people that come up to me and ask me these things, you're not going to be one of the best in the world. I'm sorry, you're just not. I'm probably not going to be one of the best in the world. I'm going to do whatever I can to be the best I can be, and if that is one of the best in the world, great, amazing. But I'm just here to be the best I can be, and then I'm going to try and take advantage of every avenue that I can, because in the fitness world, you can make money through social media, through coaching, through obviously sponsors, and competing. In my mind, competing once you're a pro and you're winning shows, you can be recuperating some of the loss of prep. Yeah. You're not making money. Because you're putting...
You win a pro show, you get 10 grand.
If you win an open pro show, you win 10 grand. If you win like classic in some of the shows, you win 2 grand.
Yeah.
So if you win opens, you get 10 grand. Well, guess what? Your food bill was probably 30 in that prep. Okay, you've just won 10 grand. By the time you're a pro, you're the drug side of things is bare minimum of that. Yeah. So And then obviously registrations, flights, accommodation, all these things add up so much.
Paying your coach.
Yeah. You're always going to be paying your coach. Obviously, there are some top level pros who they're not paying their coach because the traction they bring their coach just from, the coach having Nick Walker as an athlete is such a massive draw that they don't need Nick to be paying a little bit of money, or it's just like a little bit of the money they get from a win will go to the coach. But it's not something you should do for the money. Yeah. If you want to make money from sport, get into literally any other sport. But I don't know, get into golf or something. There is actually a lot of money.
Get into tennis or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's crazy lucrative. Obviously, the problem with those sports is, or soccer, football for some people is it's so competitive. There's so many people in those sports. Whereas the reason there are so many
people in bodybuilding as well.
Yeah, not the same.
But it kind of nails down to who can stay on the track.
100%. Yeah. Look, honestly, in my opinion, the sports and lifestyles that have the most people in them are the ones that are at the top level. They're as hard as anything else because those ones have so many people and stuff. But they're the easiest to get into. I'm sorry, soccer's the easiest sport to understand from being a kid. It's that's why those ones are easy to get into, and a lot of people get into it. Bodybuilding is a lot more confusing and hard and niche from the beginning, and then a lot of people want to get into it, and then they either do that one prep and they're out, or they don't even finish that one prep. Yeah. We know so many people who were starting prep the same time as us, and a lot of them I knew wouldn't make it, and there were some that I didn't think would, and they did, and I told them. I said to them afterwards, I said, look, I didn't think you were going to make it, and you did. You proved me wrong, and I'm so proud.
Well, you always feel good when you eat your words in a positive way. When you 100%. See someone succeed,
Yeah, I'm never saying that, because if someone pulls out a prep, I'm not going to blame them, really. I'm going to be like, yeah, no shit, this stuff sucks. I'm probably the idiot for going through with it. You're not the idiot for pulling out. It's something that moral of the story, don't get into it for the money. Pretty much that.
I'm going to get one of the questions in. As far as I remember, it was more towards supplements. So someone wants to know, what were the supplements that you normally use off season, and what were the supplements that you were definitely taking during prep, or is there any difference at all?
Barely any difference. So
what were you using then?
So for me, when it comes to the vitamin and mineral side of things, that's another big bill. Essentially, you'd know the same because you're with Taylor. So obviously, you want to be getting a lot of your micronutrients from food, but supplementation helps a lot of the time as well. So essentially, from the vitamin and mineral side of things, I was taking the entire time zinc, vitamin B, vitamin D3, magnesium, glucosamine, melatonin. I almost said melanotan, that's a bit different. What else? Heaps of things like that, essentially. I don't need to list them all off, but heaps of vitamins and minerals. So that's kind of the bulk of the supplements. Outside of that, in the off-season, I was having, I think, at the highest 3 of my meals in the day were whey protein for the protein source, just because in the off-season, my appetite isn't the best. So to push the calories up, we were kind of having to use a bit more of that than is usually wanted, especially more than what I was wanting, because it tastes crap compared to a good steak. But yeah, so that's kind of a decent amount of whey protein. Then that came down in the prep because you want more solid food. Yeah. Outside of that though, creatine, if I can be bothered buying it, but I don't know. I think creatine is something that it's a bit of a luxury. If you want to use it, great. It's not necessary. Yeah. Aminos during training, that was basically there the entire time. So just essential aminos. That's through comp prep, through off season, at all times. In off season, there will also be carb powder as well because you're trying to push the carbs so high. And that's pretty much it, just electrolytes as well. So
a bunch of people I get on TikTok saying BCAAs and EAAs are basically the same shit, and I'm always explaining BCAA. You don't need BCAAs if you're taking EAAs.
You don't need BCAAs at all. Yeah, you're getting enough of that from your food, unless you're eating a horribly deficient diet. So essential aminos are. It's good to get some aminos in while you're training, and why would you have a worse product, which is BCAAs? Whereas the EAAs are definitely. It's just good to get some amino acids coming in while you're at kind of your most anabolic, which is while you're training.
Yeah.
So that plus electrolytes, and then carb powder if you're in the off season. Obviously, towards the end of prep, there was more caffeinated pre-workout just because you're getting tired. You're stuffed by the end of it. First thing in the morning as well, before doing my fasted cardio, I would have a fat burner.
Yeah.
I don't think fat burners are the most necessary thing year round, but obviously in prep, first of all, they taste great normally. Fat burners usually taste really good. So I'm using, obviously, Envy by Vice Versa, which I think...
Shout out to Vice Versa.
Dude, it tastes amazing, that stuff. But yeah, it's a good way to start the day, kind of kickstart the processes in your body first thing in the morning before your cardio. And it's also something that just kind of makes you switch on mentally in my mind. It's like, all right, my day started, my bodybuilding prep focused, things that I'm doing in the day have now started now that this has gone in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when it comes to supplements, there's a lot of crap out there that you don't need. The most important ones are protein powder if you need it, if you can't have whole foods at that point in time. And then the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals. Outside of that, man, most of it's not that necessary.
Yeah.
The luxuries are the essential amino acids, creatine, electrolytes, always pretty good, and carb powder in the off season, or that could just be a Powerade in the in the off season.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this question's true, but someone's complimenting your physique, obviously incredible physique, and then they've got like, here you're into cinematography. Are you like into making videos?
Cinematography, yeah. I am. I've been lazy with it for a while. I'm definitely wanting to get back into doing YouTube myself, and I've always I'm massively into film. That's the thing.
So they say, what's your favorite genre in your film?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm massively into film. So I would love to work in the film industry. That's the thing. So I think that's one of the reasons I haven't gone back into the YouTube side of things, is because then that's just all fitness focused. Whereas like I'd love to be doing it for a different reason.
Yeah.
But yeah. So when it comes to film genres, nothing beats horror in my mind. I love horror so much. It's very rare that I'm watching anything that's not horror, other than right now I'm binging all the Harry Potters.
Okay.
Rest in peace, Hagrid. But yeah, like, horror is just the best thing ever. It's just like, it's a great way to feel emotions in a safe environment that we need to, to be a healthy human mentally, you need to feel every emotion on the spectrum. And what better way to feel fear in a safe environment than watching horror movie?
Yeah.
I just love that shit. So yeah, but yeah, no, thanks for the compliment as well, whoever that was on the physique.
There's someone named Jessica. I don't know who that is, but maybe you know her.
I know a few Jessicas. It's a compliment.
Maybe, I don't know. Okay. Yeah. The next question, getting more towards the not like less serious side.
Yeah.
When it comes to girls, are you more of a booty guy or a tits guy?
Booty. 100%. Look, I love it all. I love it all, but booty, come on. Like, I think everyone into fitness is going to say that.
Yeah, I think most guys would definitely say, like, a good booty on a girl is good. Well, if they're into gym, like a meathead, definitely.
I think part of it is also, for me, would be the fact that for what I would call a good booty, you've worked for it.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's also kind of telling on their character. It's kind of showing you that this person works hard. Yeah. And, it's not just something that they were
gifted with.
They were born with. Yeah. Obviously, some people are born with better genetics in that way, or just naturally will have a better booty. Or it's the same with boobs, but I will go that way.
Okay.
100%.
Fair enough. Coming to two, because yes, if you turn pro, you're going to compete in the 212 division. Yeah. Would you rather never have sex again and win the 212 Mr. Olympia once, or never win Mr. Olympia and still have sex?
Yeah, I'm not winning the Olympia if that's what's happening. There's no chance.
Think about it. One Olympia title.
I don't give a shit about one Olympia title. I want to have sex.
I don't know
if it was like you can't have it until you win the Olympia and then you could. Maybe a bit different, because I've got something to look forward to. I win, yay, top of the world, and then also can have sex again. I'm not giving that up. I don't care, man. If it was like you can give up sex or bodybuilding, I'm giving up bodybuilding. I'm sorry. I love this lifestyle. I love this sport, but
you love sex more. Whoever asked this question, bro, I love you.
Whoever gives the other answer, you're a moron. Like,
Oh,
there's more to life. I'm sorry, there's more to life than bodybuilding. That's a big thing that I talk about. Is like I'm not just a bodybuilder. I'm a person who is also a bodybuilder, which means I'm a person who likes to have fucking sex.
Yeah.
Like,
who doesn't?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I know some people there would be some people so crazy about bodybuilding that they would be like, yeah, I'm giving it up.
Yeah, but I don't think that's because they're so crazy about bodybuilding. There is just some people who sex isn't as big of a thing to them, which is fine. That is great.
Maybe they're not that great at it.
Maybe, but also, and maybe they haven't experienced great sex. But at the same time, if that's you, I've known some people who are like that and they're just not that interested in it. That's fine. That's great. You're probably going to be more successful than people who are into it.
Yeah.
Because you have one less distraction in life and it's one major fucking distraction.
Yeah.
However, I mean, to me, to be a healthy person, you've got to have a healthy sex life. Whatever that means to you. Whether that's, well, however often it is. But for some people, a healthy sex life is never. Yeah. And so for them, they're just going to be like, well, this is basically live my life the same way and not have an Olympia, or live my life the same way and have an Olympia. They'll take the Olympia. Sorry, man, I ain't take. If you said 10, that's beating Flex Lewis's 7. The record 7-2-1-2s.
Maybe.
That's a bit different.
Yeah.
But also, that'd be coming with the money.
Yeah.
That'd be coming with winning that money 10 times. 50 grand US, one time, one title, not worth giving up sex for the rest of my life. Would I be giving it up from now or from the day that I win onwards?
So from the day you start prepping for the 212, from the day you start prepping to turn pro. So you turn pro without sex, you compete without sex, you go to Olympia without sex, you win the Olympia, and then you never can have sex.
No chance. If it was the other way, if it was after I've won it, I could never have it again. So I'll win it when I'm 70 years old then, because we're guaranteed I'm winning it one time, so I'll just win it late. But I'm not giving that up, man. I'm not giving that up. I'm sorry.
Fuck,
That's a good one.
Okay, the other question I had, obviously, you're massive. If I'm talking about like a general population perspective, 99% of the gym guys in the gym are not going to get to your physique.
Yeah.
But do you still suffer with body dysmorphia?
Oh, everyone does.
Coming back, do you still suffer with body dysmorphia? And if you do, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, so I do. I think everyone does to an extent. Not as bad as some people, I think. Like, especially the earlier you are into bodybuilding, usually the worse it's going to be. And I think certain people, I think women generally will struggle with it a bit more because there's kind of this higher, just based on society in general, women are held to a higher standard, which is just stupid. Like, be whoever you want to be. I don't care. If you're happy with your body, that's all that matters. And if you're not happy with it, work towards changing that. Don't just believe this, oh, you're beautiful the way you are. Yeah, you are, but you are not happy that way, so change something. Exactly. Look, I do struggle with it at times. In prep, obviously, you get to that point where you're just like, at the beginning of prep, things aren't moving fast enough. You feel like you're like, all right, I just look smaller because you're losing muscle glycogen and you're losing some fat, but you're still not lean, really. Yeah. So you think you're looking smaller. So you go really downhill there. Then you go uphill for quite a while. And then it's just drops off because you suddenly feel like crap and your mind's completely against you. Outside of prep, I'm not too bad. I'm not as bad as some people. Yeah. However, there's still ups and downs. It just kind of depends on my mental state at the time. So right now in life, everything's awesome. Outside of bodybuilding, got a great job, got awesome people around me, great friends, love my family. Everything's going really well. So when everything's good in that regard and I'm really good mentally, I don't beat myself up and I can kind of say like, well, yeah, I'm doing well with this. I'm happy, I'm proud, and also I'm proud of the physique I displayed on stage. Yeah. I know what we need to do to improve, but that doesn't mean I'm not good now. But then if I go through a negative period in the rest of my life, that, mental health will go down, and then same thing. You'll just be like, well, all right, my arms need to get bigger. My calves need to get bigger. I don't.
My whole body needs to get bigger.
Hey, dude, same with me. I mean, like, everything needs to grow. But yeah, then just be like, well, I'm never going to be able to turn pro because I'm 5'4". I don't care about my height at all, except for the fact that I know it's going to be hard to turn pro at this height. So I don't care most of the time, but then if I'm in a negative headspace, I'm going to think like, holy shit, how am I going to beat these guys who are 110 kilos on stage? It's going to be hard. But when I'm feeling more positive, it's like, well, I'll beat them on shape and conditioning and on posing and all of these things. So I think everyone in their own way will deal with body dysmorphia, but you've just got to kind of learn how best to combat it yourself. And I think also having goals outside of bodybuilding is the biggest way. So making sure that your whole self-worth in your own mind isn't based on your physique.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big part when you're a bodybuilder. Like, it's one of the biggest things in your life that you are judged on. However, you've got to have other things going for yourself. I have a good job right now and I'm doing well there. And so that's something that I think is another big thing that I can be proud of. And then I've got relationships with other, friends and family and things. And I've got my dog that I care about. I've got other hobbies, all of these things that take the pressure off bodybuilding having to be the number one thing that makes you happy in life. If bodybuilding is all you care about, well then you better be good at it. Yeah. You better look good. Yeah. Otherwise you're going to start feeling like crap. So yeah.
Would you say I'm not going to drag it for too long. We're already closing on the 40-minute mark, but would you say sacrificing a relationship with a partner, not with family and friends, because you know that relationship is going to stay. They're going to understand that, okay, you're in your prep or something like that. But would you say relationship with your partner is worth sacrificing if you're moving towards your fitness goals?
It's a tough one. And first of all, relationships with friends and family aren't always going to stay. That's the problem. So the vast majority of my close friends are still around. That's because I've chosen the right people.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine who's just competed, she's lost a lot of friends through her prep.
Okay.
So a lot of her friends have left because they just thought, well, you're not coming out for drinks with us. And she's just going, well, yeah, because I've got other goals right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't accept that, if someone can't accept that, get rid of them. Obviously, it's the same with family. There are pro bodybuilders out there. There's Hidetada Yamagishi, Japanese bodybuilder. His family disowned him when he told them that he wanted to be a bodybuilder. So, unfortunately, it happens. Now, I've got supportive family, friends, everything. No relationship right now. So, I think that if you're early stages in a relationship and you're telling them early stages, like, I'm a bodybuilder, this is what I want to do. And they're just like, no, you're not doing that. I don't want you doing that. I want you spending all your time with me. I don't want you going to the gym, these things. Well, that's not going to work because this is your goal. Now, if you decide to get into bodybuilding and you've been in a relationship for 10 years, you're married, especially if there's kids involved or something, different story. You've got to come up with a compromise. You shouldn't have to give up on your goals and dreams and ambitions, but you've built a life with this person. They clearly matter.
Yeah.
So I think it's all very situational. It's another thing I've seen long-term relationships with kids involved. One right now that is looking a bit rocky because of what has, the partner hasn't supported them 100% through the prep and hasn't supported them and saying you're never doing that again. So it's tough. I think it all depends on how long you've been with someone, and they should know from the beginning, as soon as they should know that you're wanting to do this. And then if they don't want to support it, well, you have to try and sit down and have a proper conversation and come to some sort of compromise if you can. But if they just straight up don't want you following your dreams, and that's your dream, well, you might have to sacrifice it.
So moving ahead, are you going to actively, when you find a partner, are you going to look forward to get someone who's into the same industry? Because I think that definitely makes things a bit easier.
It makes it easier. I don't care if they don't have to be in the same industry, but it does make it easier. If they're in the same industry, then they probably understand things.
A shout out to Liam and Kristen right here, right? So if they're prepping together, they're going to understand what goes into it.
Yeah.
Even when one of them is prepping and they've prepped before, they're going to understand what goes into a prep. So they're going to understand what's happening. And even if the person's acting a certain way, maybe he or she is annoyed or maybe not into the mood, you're going to understand. But coming from, I don't want to say normal people, but someone who's not into the competitive side or someone who's not into the fitness industry as much, for them to grasp what's happening here or what's like to understand why is a person acting this way, it's a bit hard.
100%. Yeah. Look, I think they are a great example of it. Like I think the first 6 months that they were dating, he was in prep that entire time. And she stuck around, and obviously, especially as a natural guy, you'd know what it's like when it comes to things like sex drive. So she was probably wanting things. So, but she stuck around. So they're both the most amazing people ever. Then he stuck around while she was prepping, so nothing fell apart there. Now they're both prepping at the same time. Good luck, guys. Honestly, you might try to kill each other at some point, but they're both mellow people. They're both pretty chill. She can stress a bit more than him, but they're both chilled out people. So I think they'll be fine because they both understand. They know how to support it. It's not, obviously it's not all people who aren't into it that don't understand. Like an ex-partner of mine supported me incredibly through a prep. So I'm not going to act like it's no one outside of bodybuilding understands and can be supportive. But it is easier if they've been through it themselves. And I think that's kind of the easiest way. And that's why most people in the industry date people in the industry. It's like, famous celebrities date famous celebrities because they feel like they're on the same level. It's not like you're being idolized by your partner. So it's the same thing. You understand the same lifestyle, so it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Before we wrap it up, do you have anyone you want to thank? Any sponsors, any people, anyone? You can just do it now.
Yeah. Look, obviously, I'm going to, because it's, just comps just past stuff, I'm going to, once again, I've thanked him a million times. I'll thank Taylor. You've, done so much for me.
Same for me.
Yeah, supported us both so well, as well as everyone just in the team. Like, I don't know what it was like for the ICN comp, but man, I came out and was just like, I don't even know half these people who are athletes of his, and they came to support me in the comp, and it was incredible. I'm an athlete with Vice Versa. I don't really know how visible the top is, but I'm an athlete with Vice Versa. So yeah, big shout out to Jamie. Obviously, if anyone, Jamie Skippin, so he runs that. If anyone wants any good pre-workout and fat burners, Jamie's the man. Honestly, incredible stuff. It's a South Australia based company now as well, which is really, really awesome. And he's coming out with new products as well. So he's going to expand beyond just those products, which is really cool. He's got a new pre-workout right around the corner at this stage, but he's going to expand outside of the kind of pre-workout caffeinated drink area at some point. But so other than that, it's just like, thanks to you for having me on. People
are going to get so much information from this one.
Yeah, look, I think it's good to just kind of spread the information and give kind of an honest perspective on things, and just the stigma needs to be removed around certain things. I'm pretty sure, and a lot of people it's getting better these days, but a lot of people still don't understand. And I just think the more people talk about it, the more it's going to slowly improve. So thanks for having me on, and it's been
fucking enjoyed it. And please do subscribe. I'm gonna get more guests, and probably Carter's gonna come back again.
Yeah, be happy to.
When Taylor comes back, I'm gonna have like a Crabtree.
We'll do it.
Crabtree Athletes podcast.
Yeah. What we should do one when I'm peak off season and Liam's 2 weeks out. And that will be the funniest thing ever. So just like seeing the different.
I'm just not going to hold Liam for more than 15 minutes because it's going to snap.
Yeah.
But Liam's
that'd be good.
Great.
We'll always be happy to come back on, man.
Thank you so much.
No worries.
I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one.